Every act of persuasion is an act of power, and every act of power carries a shadow. When you convince someone, you are not just guiding their thoughts, you are reshaping their world. Words may seem harmless, yet beneath their surface lies a kind of sorcery. The ability to alter perception, to bend emotion, to rewrite the meaning of reality itself. The question we rarely ask is simple, but terrifying. At what point does persuasion become manipulation? Machiavelli believed that moral purity was a luxury reserved for those who lacked ambition. Marcus Aurelius, on the other hand, warned that influence without virtue corrupts both the influencer and the influenced. So which is it? Is persuasion, this invisible art, an ethical craft? Or is it by nature a subtle form of domination? From the courtroom to the pulpit, from the throne room to the boardroom, human civilization has been built upon this delicate balance, the power to move others and the temptation to exploit that power. Tonight, we'll step into the moral labyrinth of influence itself to ask not whether persuasion works, but whether it should. Persuasion has always been a double-edged blade. It can liberate minds or enslave them. The ancient Greeks were among the first to study this paradox. Aristotle called rhetoric the art of finding the available means of persuasion. To him, persuasion wasn't evil. It was a neutral tool, its morality determined by the virtue of the speaker. But even then, shadows lurked. The sophists, masters of speech, proved that truth could be twisted. With enough eloquence, a lie could sound divine. They could make the unjust appear just and the guilty appear innocent. Their brilliance terrified philosophers because it revealed how fragile truth really is when words are wielded as weapons. Consider modern parallels. A politician appeals to emotion rather than reason, promising safety, unity, or vengeance. A corporation frames consumption as liberation. A social media influencer convinces millions that validation equals value. All of them persuade, but do they enlighten or merely sedate? The Stoics would call this the corruption of logos, the misuse of reason for personal gain. They taught that persuasion should only guide others toward virtue, never toward dependency. But in practice, few can resist the pleasure of control. Persuasion, at its core, is not about truth, it's about alignment. To persuade someone, you must enter their emotional language. See what they value, what they fear, what they crave, and then speak to it. This act alone gives you immense power over them because you now understand their inner machinery. That is the moral hazard. To influence is to possess knowledge that can easily become manipulation.
So the ethical question is not whether persuasion is good or evil, but whether the persuader can resist using it for dominance. Because influence always carries the whisper of temptation. And once you hear it, it becomes harder to tell where guidance ends and control begins.
In ancient Athens, persuasion was everything. Democracy thrived on speech, and speech was war. Socrates, the father of Western philosophy, stood as a mirror to this society. Unlike the sophists, who sold persuasion as a profession, Socrates believed in questioning, not convincing. His method didn't demand agreement, it demanded awareness. To Socrates, truth emerged from dialogue, not dominance. He understood that real persuasion, the kind rooted in ethics, must awaken the mind, not sedate it. But his very refusal to manipulate made him dangerous. The Athenian elite preferred rhetoric that reinforced their beliefs, not one that dismantled them. The sophists sought victory, Socrates sought virtue. And in the battle between influence and integrity, influence won. Even today, we live in Athens reborn, where the loudest voices, not the wisest, win the crowd. Fast forward to the modern age, where persuasion no longer belongs to philosophers, orators, or kings. It belongs to engineers, advertisers, and algorithms. We live inside a marketplace of the mind. Our attention, once sacred, has become a commodity, bought, sold, and traded by those who understand one truth. Control the narrative, and you control behavior. The old sophists of Athens sold rhetoric to politicians. The new sophists sell persuasion to corporations. But their product is far more potent, because unlike the orators of the past, they no longer need to convince you consciously. They persuade you subconsciously. Every notification, every ad, every video recommendation, these are microdoses of influence, each one a soft whisper, planting seeds of desire or fear inside your mind. And you, unaware, mistake these planted impulses for your own. This is not communication, it's conditioning. The pioneers of this system were not tyrants, but thinkers. In the early 20th century, Edward Bernays, the nephew of Sigmund Freud, discovered something extraordinary. If you could appeal to the unconscious, you could shape entire societies. Bernays called it engineering consent. He didn't see propaganda as manipulation. He saw it as management. In his mind, the average person was too emotional, too irrational to know what was best for them. Society needed gentle control. He sold cigarettes to women by branding them as torches of freedom. He turned consumerism into a religion, teaching the world that happiness could be bought. His legacy?
a world where persuasion is not the exception, but the air we breathe.
Fast forward to today, and Bernays' principles have evolved into something even more insidious. We are now subjects of the algorithm, a digital Machiavelli that knows us better than we know ourselves. Your likes, your searches, your hesitations, all recorded, analyzed, and refined into predictions. The machine doesn't shout or argue. It simply shows you what you already want to believe. And in doing so, it shapes you. The modern persuader doesn't need armies. He needs your data. Every scroll is a surrender. Every click is an act of obedience. You are being persuaded constantly, not through logic, but through emotional repetition. The message doesn't need to be true. It only needs to feel familiar. Psychologists call this the mere exposure effect. The more we see something, the more we believe it. Advertisers weaponize it. Politicians depend on it. Social media amplifies it until truth itself dissolves in the flood of noise. This is the new landscape of influence, no longer spoken, but coded, no longer debated, but designed. Even morality itself has been rebranded. Virtue is now a performance. Outrage is an algorithmic trend. People don't form beliefs, they inherit them from the digital environment, crafted to keep them engaged. We've entered what some philosophers call the attention panopticon, a psychological prison without walls. You are both prisoner and participant, both consumer and consumed. And yet, the true genius of this system is not that it traps you. It convinces you that you are free. You choose your content, your opinions, your truth. But the menu was designed long before you arrived. The modern persuader doesn't silence your voice. He amplifies it until it drowns out all others. You become the instrument of your own influence. Machiavelli warned that appearances govern the world. If he lived today, he'd recognize this system instantly, a digital principe perfected. He'd understand that the most powerful rulers no longer wear crowns. They wear anonymity. They don't demand loyalty. They harvest attention. They don't threaten with violence. They seduce with validation. And perhaps most chilling of all, they don't even need to lie. They only need to keep you entertained. The ethical question returns sharper than before. If persuasion no longer requires intent, if it's automated, emotion-driven, and self-reinforcing, then who exactly is responsible? The engineer, the algorithm, or the human who believes he cannot be persuaded?
The modern world is not ruled by those who shout the loudest, but by those who whisper the quietest, and make you think the voice was your own.
So where does that leave us? Persuasion is inevitable. Humans cannot live without it. Every story, every lesson, every plea is a form of influence. To abolish persuasion would be to silence progress, but to use it carelessly is to create slaves of perception. The Stoics believed the key lies in intention. Influence, when used to lead others toward truth, justice, or harmony, can become a sacred act. Persuasion as mentorship, not manipulation. Epictetus warned, "If you wish to be good, first believe that you are evil," meaning acknowledge the temptation to deceive before you speak. Because the moral danger is not in persuasion itself, but in your unexamined motives. Machiavelli would disagree. To him, morality was a luxury rulers could not afford. What mattered was stability. The ends justified the means. Yet even he understood that manipulation, once habitual, breeds corruption. He who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. So the question becomes not, is persuasion safe? But are we safe with persuasion in our hands? Because influence, once learned, cannot be unlearned. And power, once tasted, never leaves the tongue unpoisoned.
The ability to influence others is neither curse nor gift. It is a mirror. When you persuade someone, you reveal who you truly are, not through what you say, but through why you say it. Some will use influence to elevate minds, others to enslave them. Some will speak to awaken thought, others to silence it. The moral line is drawn not in words, but in intention. So ask yourself, when you speak, post, teach, lead, or argue, are you guiding light into the mind, or are you merely learning to pull its strings? Because persuasion, like fire, can warm or it can consume. And in the end, the most dangerous kind of influence is the one we use on ourselves.